Hi Taurus. So let's dive into your reading. This reading, if you relate to it, it's yours. And I'm going to do a version of the Celtic cross that I really like at the moment. So it's been working quite well for me, and I hope that you will like it too. It has a potential outcome and an actual outcome, by which it's sort of sending us back to examine, rather than thinking what will happen to me, what are my fate. It's sort of pushing our consciousness back on, I suppose, on how we are dealing with life and what we're expecting and putting into it, and what the past is pushing us to think of. I suppose anyway, I'll talk about this at the end, but I've just read this book that's making me think a bit of that. But anyway, let's start. So, card for Taurus, 8 of Wands. And what is covering Taurus, crossing them? Page of Pentacles. And the basis of the situation. We've got the 7 of Pentacles. And the recent past. 5 of Cups. A potential outcome. Page of Cups. The near future. Ace of Wands. And then Taurus's attitude at the moment. We've got the 10 of Swords and Taurus's environment. We've got the 4 of Swords, but I also, oh, that's interesting, another 4. I was also sort of going for this one, so I'll take both. 4 of Cups. And then we've got your hopes and fears, judgment, and the outcome. I wanted to take these two, the Emperor and the 5 of Swords. Interesting. Okay. Just having a quick look to see what the sort of mix of suits is. It's quite balanced, actually. Give me one moment. It's really interesting because the first part of the reading, which shows what's been happening around you and what's about to happen, is relatively light, apart from this 5 of Cups in the recent past. Just get stuff to put on this if the wind comes up. And then it all seems to get a little bit more serious when we get into the vertical line of your attitude, your environment, your hopes and fears, and then the outcome. That's not to say it's bad, it's just it feels a lot heavier. Anyway, let's talk it through and see what we think's going on. So we've got you, your inner you, as the 8 of Wands. The 8 of Wands is a card of communication, and this is your inner you. I think that you're thinking lots, and you are potentially, I said this the other day in another reading, and I think it still holds true to you because it's in the interior position. Perhaps you're receiving quite a lot of messages from Spirit, and you're feeling quite inspired and lined up to what you want as your result, because these sticks are all flying in the same direction. It's fast-paced, it's fun, it's creative. It can mean just communication, it can be about being a writer, it can be about news and fast-paced events. So something inside you feels quite sort of aligned and speedy and crossing you. So this is your external you. We have you as the Page of Pentacles, and he's the sort of best student out of all the pages. So it's a young energy, but he is very diligent and he's learning hard, and he's sat in the class and he's really taking on board his new lessons. So potentially you're quite inspired to do something new, and you're studying something new. And as I look at this card today, I'm seeing his orange sash around his waist and the crop of trees on one side, and then these kind of white, almost snowy hills on the other. See if anything stands out to you. So your exterior, the outer part of you, is knuckling down and probably working with all this inspiration or all this kind of fast-paced energy, but in quite a nice grounded way. You're not becoming too taken by all the energy. You're really grounding it into some new learning, which is wonderful. When we see the basis of the situation as the Seven of Pentacles, again, as an energy that's very grounded, and seeing what his face looks like to me today, because it changes. He looks pretty content. It's a card of putting in the work, seeing this land turn to something fertile. It's funny because I'm sitting in this garden at the moment that used to be a dumping ground about 12, 15 years ago, and the neighbours here, it belongs to one of the neighbours, and the neighbours all got together, or three of the men, and they by hand removed all of the rubbish, and it is now the most insanely beautiful wooded garden with all these little paths that go everywhere. And one of the neighbours is an artist, and they've displayed or used found items from this rubbish dump, which goes as far back as the Second World War, I think, and created new sculptures. I don't know why I'm telling you this, it must be relevant. So they've created a thing of beauty out of something that was really a sort of a neglected and deadbeat piece of land, and it is so beautiful. I've been coming here in the morning. I saw a deer this morning, which was lovely. Came out to look over the field. It's got a hammock. It's heaven. So that's coming to me, I guess, because it's encouragement for you if you're working on something to keep going, because it took them a long time to remove, probably 2 years of by hand removing this rubbish before they could even start putting in all the veggie gardens and the herbs and the beautiful pieces of artwork and bird boxes and all sorts. So I feel that with the Page of Pentacles in your outer position as a basis, I think that you're okay, you're up for this work. It might just be a little tiny extra encouragement you need to say, keep going. I think that you're prepared to do that. You understand how long this project might take. It's already bearing some sort of fruit, and you're doing well. But it's a long-term project. It hasn't reached its conclusion yet. In the recent past, we see the Five of Cups, which indicates a disappointment of some sort. We want this character to turn around and see the two cups still standing. There are three spilt, and the cloak is very sort of dark and despondent, and it's a sense that someone's really focusing on the negative. I'm just holding on to these cards. I don't know whether you've had a bit of a disappointment with this project. It's quite a standalone position, this. Maybe it's just a little hiccup. But there has been a sense of disappointment, and then we see you bouncing back into this lovely page energy, because the possible outcome is the Page of Cups, which suggests a really lovely, youthful energy that's quite without responsibilities in a way. He's staring at this fish who is popping out of the cup, that's like the kind of imagination, and he's entranced by it, and he's not really worrying about anything other than this wonderful imaginative journey that he's going on. The sea is very calm behind him. This is a happy place, and it's lovely to see two pages. So there's a sort of rebirth of energy after this disappointment. And in the near future, we have the Ace of Wands, which suggests even fresher, newer energy and a sense of inspiration, the hand of God passing you this stick of inspiration and creativity, with all its blessings popping off the stick. And it's a lovely creative energy. The beginning of this read feels like you're full of creativity and you're going for it. You've had a little bit of a hiccup, but you're not letting it make you cynical, anything but. There's a freshness. Then we see your attitude. This is you. This is the way it's described as yourself, your attitude, how you're contributing to the situation. And this is lovely. It feels more major than this disappointment, but I think whatever the ending was, whatever the disappointment, you've really let something go. Very lightly, but very firmly, you are allowing those swords to finish off something. There's no resurrecting whatever this loss was, and it's healthy. It's the minor to the death card. It's a rebirth, which we see in the Ace of Wands. So congratulations. You're not holding on. In the past, in the recent past, perhaps you were slightly worrying about those spilt cups, but it feels as if you've turned a corner and you've gone, well, that's fine, I've got all these new ideas and I'm off again. In your environment, now this usually, if it's court cards, would describe people around you, but I think here we've got this double 4. They both wanted to pop out. The first one, and arguably the one that we should stress, is the 4 of Swords, which is a card of relaxation and rest after a battle, which would make sense that you have had this sense of letting go and now you're kind of restocking a little bit, getting all your chakras aligned. There's the stained glass window above, which shows healing, and you are getting ready for your next phase. But it's funny that I wanted to pull this as well for you, which is giving me a slightly different take on this. I don't know if you're watching a lot of Netflix, because this really funny thing happened. So I was reading this book, which is absolutely brilliant, called Beyond Black by Hilary Mantel. I wish I'd met her. I wish I could talk to her about it, because it's such a deep understanding of psychic matters. It's about childhood trauma. It's beautifully written. I really encourage you, if you're a reader, to go and buy it. Or borrow a copy. It's got this strange language that hints at more than one thing all the time. It's littered with images of tarot cards, and it's all about being a medium. And right towards the end of the book, and this isn't a spoiler because it's just a little incident and it's not a big moment, she's talking about the 4 of Swords, and the main character, there are various interpretations that different characters have for it, and the main character believes that this is the card of the internet. And I was sat reading this morning and I was like, what? I've never heard anything like that. But actually, doesn't he look like he's holding an iPad? And doesn't that stained glass window look a bit like a screen? And then I was thinking, it's a bit like Neo being plugged in and living this kind of half life, like, because he actually is set in stone and he's laying down, and that's one of the perils of this day and age, is there's so much entertainment, and we should really be encouraged to create, not consume. That's kind of what I'm doing here, because I can get sucked into the internet. And I don't think this is wrong, this interpretation, because when we put it with the 4 of Cups, I mean, I'm not always going to read this like that, because you do need a rest after a 10 of Swords, and you do need a reboot. But when we put these 2 4s together, it's a bit like you're refusing all this inspiration right now, or you're in an environment or around people who are encouraging you not to take this inspiration. There's a sense of slight apathy, to be honest. he's not taking this hand of inspiration. We would normally say, please do take it. This is a great offer. You can always change your mind afterwards. And so because I've just had that interpretation in my mind, I'm wondering, are you spending a little too long? Oh, that's interesting. That just blew at me through the wind. 10 of Wands. Maybe it's you saying, oi, no, actually, I've had a lot on my plate because it's 10-10, like the 10 of Swords, and I need a rest. Don't be browbeating me. Because that's the card of the workaholic and the obsessive, and maybe you do just need quite a little bit of a pause before you take on all this lovely fresh energy and this Ace of Wands. However, maybe you could read the 10 of Wands as saying, don't get obsessed with something that you're currently doing a deep dive on the internet with. Don't become too bogged down with all these other details. We want you grasping that one Ace of Wands. So I don't know, there's something about the way it flew at me. I think maybe it's you saying, I need this rest. I'm tired, I've been through a lot. I relate. So you will know how to take that. So that's your attitude. And in your hopes and fears, we have the Judgment card. So I'm having to really hold on to all of this now. The Judgment card is a card of epiphany. And it's getting that you're finally getting something, an idea that's finally sunk in, and it's going to cause these corpses to rise from their coffins. I hope I'm not just giving a reading that relates to this book that I've just read. I don't think so. I put the intention firmly onto you. So because I talked to you about the Four of Swords and what I was thinking about that in relationship to the book, I'll also tell you something funny about this, this came out this morning when I was creeping around in the garden looking behind me into that field for wildlife at 6 o'clock this morning, because I've been told you can see deer, and there was a deer. I might post the video of the deer. And I asked the deer in my romantic way for a message, and the deer gave me this, and the Seven of Wands. And the Seven of Wands is, if you remember, is that picture of a man stood fighting off 7 sticks on higher ground. And I was on higher ground, and in front of, or 6 sticks, and in front of me I had these 6 mini oak trees, and the oak trees, some of them had been cut back severely, so it felt a bit like if you'd been looking up at me, that would have been exactly what I looked like from the deer's perspective. And the deer was raising its head in the grass, a bit like these figures raising from the coffins. And it made me laugh, because it was a bit like the deer was saying, what message do you want? You're up there looking at me, I'm down here popping my head up and looking at you. So I can imagine a pragmatic Taurian saying, pragmatically, if we looked at this from a really sort of like that deer type point of view, it might just be your hopes and fears are that you don't need a massive epiphany. I think that you're on your way, you are tired, you've probably been having an extended rest period after this time of letting go. And so in a pragmatic, deer-like way, I think this is just you getting out of your bed, away from Netflix, and getting ready to get on with this project or these projects. And in the actual outcome, a much more mature energy than the dreamy page with no responsibilities. We have the Emperor with all the responsibilities, and the Five of Swords, which is a battle that has been won. And because you can view it either from the victor or the loser's point of view, I think this is you as the victor, because it's coming with the Emperor. And I think this represents a maturing of this energy, of this lovely fresh energy, of this midway energy of the Seven of Coins, as you explore this project, and all this page energy and the Ace of Wands, and I think it's you bringing this project into fruition and winning a battle. Now, whether the battle is it's never a particularly comfortable win, this one. I mean, it's great to win. Oh, goodness. It's great to win. But we look at this character who's won this battle and we see that he looks not overjoyed. It's possibly a difficult battle that you've been in, but we see that you've potentially already had that battle, and maybe this is something that just has to happen. Maybe it's to do with discipline. Yes, I think that's what it's to do with. I think we have all this very young energy and inspired energy over here, and then the working and trying to stay motivated on these new projects. And then we see a slightly sort of idleness on this vertical, and then the moment of the clarion call from the angel, which is probably you realizing, hoping that you're going to get out of this slump. And then, just like discipline, although it rewards us wonderfully, it's not that much fun being disciplined. Well, is it fun? It can be once you get into your stride, but initially it's always a little bit difficult to start those kind of new disciplines. Then we see you win the battle and become disciplined. I think you manage to integrate the Emperor energy. So that's really amazing, Taurus. You've got a fresh, new, lovely project, and now you need to not get too, well, get lost in the lovely romance and the amazingness of it and how beguiled you are with this fish. And now we need to see you shed your old skin, become a new version of you where you integrate some of the Emperor's discipline in order to bring this to some sort of maturity where we have the two major arcanas turn up on that axis, where we see you go from, right, I need to hunker down, I need to rest, and then, poof, you're off. Bringing a really good result. I hope, oh, who blew off the judgment? I hope you have a wonderful week. I hope the burdens haven't been too strong, and you are definitely going into a more mature, realised phase. Embrace the rest if you're in the middle of it at the moment. There's nothing wrong with that, but just remember that what's coming next is some serious discipline. I hope you have a lovely week. Bye.